We are talking about your boy SBF. He's back in the news with 12 indictments, allegations against him. Previously, we only had 8, which, that's not too many. 12 is a little bit higher, and things look even worse. There's new indictments here, including a lot of stuff about how he gave political donations to people, did not disclose it correctly. There's also some new counts around wire fraud. All in all, the picture only becomes more bleak. There's some interesting information tidbits within the article you can find on CoinDesk.com about these indictments, including how they were trying to give money to different groups in Washington, D.C., different PACs, how they were choosing to give these donations out, who they were giving the donations through during like FTX or through Alameda. It's a mess. It really is a mess, but it does shed some light into the actual political functions within FTX and within Alameda itself. This was a fairly political organization. I'm going to throw this one over to Adam first. I want to get your take on it. Pretty interesting new findings this morning.
I mean, I think that it's just the continued unraveling of a ball of yarn that we did not appreciate was quite as long as it has turned out to be. Again, a significant facade was put forward here if the allegations wind up being true, that as time goes on, we're just seeing is more and more and more wrong. So it's not a good story. It's not a good piece of news here, but I think it is a continuation. And to a certain extent, I haven't said this in a while. My mother used to tell me, if you can't be a shining example, at least be a horrible warning. And I have to think that that's kind of where we are in SBF's world right now, is he went from being sort of what everybody aspires to being like the horror story that you really, really, really don't want to find yourself in the shoes of at this moment. So interesting, but not too much else there. Zach?
I'll toss it down to Will. Will?
I got to fact check myself already. Bad day. It's not wire fraud in these cases, though he does have wire fraud against him. The new indictments are actually for bank fraud. So similar, related, but different. Zach, back to you.
This is a crazy story that keeps getting crazier. There's some interesting details in here suggesting some of the inner workings of the FTX organization. It's remarkable. It's remarkable to see this, giving money out to political campaigns and causes, seemingly hedging their bets across the board, right? I think SBF established himself as a prominent donor to the Democratic Party, but clearly we're seeing these documents that the Republicans were also targeted, sort of hedging all bets, donating in all places, seemingly strategic, I guess, in the diversity of places in which they were spending their money. But interesting nonetheless that we get to see these details come out in court filings such as this. So anyway, I think that ball of yarn, that big ball of yarn that we keep seeing unspooling here, really does stick with you. Adam, I saw your hand. I'll toss it to you.
Yeah, I mean, so you said strategic. I think I would say cynical, right? I think that what we've seen here is that the persona that SBF put forward was sort of, again, a facade, but it was a facade that was intended to work in the most cynical way that you possibly could imagine, right? He signaled all the right things that you're supposed to signal. He hated all the people who you're supposed to hate, and kind of just put himself into a mold that was exactly what sort of mainstream reality wants. And then he just filled that archetype. And what we see here is that it was all a facade, and that in reality, if the allegations are correct, there was really none of the belief there. It was just, hey, this is the most expeditious way that I can arrange my, myself and perception of me so that I can maximize my goals. But yeah, it's pretty wild. I think I saw a couple of hands. Zach, you want it back?
I'll just take it quick, and then I got to toss it to Jen. But I mean, it recalls that the shibboleths of woke media, the thing that came out with that early story that was revealed through Twitter DMs that he thought he was talking to a reporter off the record, it was published, etc. Right? And I think there is sort of an emerging consensus from people who are watching this story closely is that SBF didn't believe in anything. Therefore, he believed in everything, right? I guess part of the philosophy was the ends justified the means, right? He was seeking to raise as much money as possible, ostensibly or allegedly to do good in the world, right, with that money. And I think whatever got him to the point of most money, as dictated by his understanding of effective altruism, was the right path to pursue. And I think that sort of believing in nothingness, to me, was really exposed in that debate with Eric Voorhees, right? Who's sort of a true crypto libertarian. Famously, SBF and Voorhees squared up on the Bankless podcast and went batted these ideas back and forth, and it kind of became evident, sort of, at that time. This was before some of these damning revelations about the Alameda balance sheet. This was before all that, but even sort of that began to open a window onto the fact that maybe this was a bit more nihilistic than previous generations of crypto believers had built. So anyway, lots of good stuff to go here, but Jen, I'm definitely got to get your word on this.
Yeah, no, I think you guys all covered it. There was a source quoted in CNBC this morning who's familiar with the new counts that said that these could add another 40 years to the prison term for SBF if he is convicted of these. It's just crazy to look back over the last 2 years. You know, I know we keep bringing up that we had SBF on the show, to know that all of these really allegedly scammy behaviors were going on behind the scenes, and nothing that he was saying was effectively true, allegedly, is just so frightening to see how far he was able to make it in this world. And I think as I read more and more stories about SBF, I wonder about those two people who put up some of that bail money for him, not his parents. I think it was the ex-dean of Stanford and then another ex-Stanford employee. I wonder how their reputation is going to get caught up in this. I don't think we've spoken about it on The Hash before, and if we did, I wasn't here. But Adam, I'll pass it off to you for the next story.
Yeah, two things, and then I'll toss it down to you, Will, and then we can move on. So one thing, just to talk about it, the bail stuff, super weird, continues to be super weird. It's now been revealed that indeed the two individuals of very, of high net worth have actually not pledged anything close to the money that was supposed to actually be the bail amount, not even 10% of that, and they haven't paid anything. So there's like $700,000 worth of pledged funds if he runs, and the $4 million nominal value of the California property that his parents have pledged, and that's it. So it's like there's all kinds of weird stuff going on there. And then just the last thing is that the cynicism I actually agree with in most circumstances that he has put forward, but it's not the sort of thing that you action on, right? It's the sort of thing that you're aware of because it's a reality of the market, right? Like that infamous comment that he made about how a lot of projects are Ponzi schemes, essentially. That's true. A lot of projects are Ponzi schemes, but recognizing that typically means that as a person who recognizes it, you're like, so I'll avoid that and I'll tell other people to avoid it, not, hey, that's a Ponzi scheme. Let me make all my bets on that and double down on it using my reputation. Apologies for going so long. Will, any final thoughts?
One final thought here is that we got another Easter egg for how they kept like internal records in the document today, so that they have like an internal Excel spreadsheet for keeping track of all these contributions. It's like just funny to see a huge organization that was supposed to be worth Google like $30 billion running on like Google Sheets, like, come on, kind of pathetic.